Adesanya Whittaker Part 2. Stay with me on this, guys. You gotta stay with me because I'm gonna lose you partway through. Look, anytime you're doing a rematch, it does not matter what sport. It doesn't matter how many times. You're gonna be asked and you must have an answer to the question, what is going to be different? You have to be asked. It doesn't matter if you won or lost. You still gotta be able to answer that. Here's where it gets confusing. I asked you a moment ago to stay with me. If you want to juxtapose Robert Whittaker of today versus the Whittaker that fought Adesanya the first time against Adesanya that Whittaker faced the first time and Adesanya today, they're not even close. Whittaker has grown leaps and bounds. Adesanya has not. I will go as far as to tell you Whittaker is not the same fighter anymore. And I will use as an example to that statement, Whittaker rounds 1 through 5 against Kelvin Gastelum. Robert Whittaker had never attempted a takedown. He had never gotten a takedown, which meant there was no ground and pound. There was no groundwork whatsoever. In his entire career, he goes for 4 takedowns against Kelvin. He gets all 4, and he kept him there. That's a big deal. Don't miss that. If you go watch that fight and you see how good Whittaker got at wrestling, but you miss that he kept Kelvin there. Because now you're talking about 2 skills, not 1. It is a skill to take somebody off their feet. To keep them there is a different skill. One is wrestling, one is grappling. Whittaker showed a mastery of both. Batted 100%. Went for 4 takedowns, got KG down 4 times, kept him there. It's very relevant. Very relevant. Because the only weakness we've ever seen from Adesanya, and you can go and look at Izzy's first fight within the UFC, Adesanya versus Vettori Part 1. It was a split decision. One of the judges thought Vettori won the fight. I thought Vettori won the fight. Michael Bisping called the fight. Michael Bisping thought Vettori won the fight. But he did it by taking him down and keeping him there. So the only thing that we've ever seen, the only kryptonite of the champion, is now a tool that is in the box of his next opponent that was not there the first time they fought. He is vastly different. Here's the problem. And I think I've won you on that. I think if we're just looking at who has gained more from the first, I think I very successfully and probably unanimously won you guys over. It is Robert Whittaker, and it's not even close. Here's the problem. Their first fight was not competitive. I've been following this sport for 23 years as a fan. I have never seen somebody lose twice in one evening. Adesanya knocked Whittaker out in the first round, and then he knocked him out again in the second round. It was absolutely dominant. Why did that happen? Because Adesanya was so fast, and one thing that Whittaker said after the fight is he talked about the speed of Adesanya, but when I see Robert Whittaker, oh my God, I can't believe how fast that guy is. Particularly for his body, right? You can be one or the other. You can be very fast, or you can be very strong. It's very hard to be both. Whittaker, a muscle shark, boom, 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 and he's got this great speed, but Whittaker even said, man, it was hard. I couldn't see him. He was a ghost in there. He's over here, I'm throwing punches, now he's over here, he's throwing punches at me. Whittaker was extremely complimentary of Adesanya, which I, for one, like for Whittaker. When a guy knows full well what the good news and the bad news is, that's the only chance he has to actually flip the script. If he follows, oh, you must be positive, you must have confidence. Why? Why must you have an illusion? Why can you not be realistic? If you're not realistic, you have no motivation, let alone an ability to go in the gym and grow and change. Whittaker's done everything right. He's done everything right, and the threat of a takedown is more important against a kickboxer than the takedown. If you never take a kickboxer down, you'll be okay as long as you have him being reactive as opposed to proactive, because he's fearful that you can take him down. So if Whittaker comes up, because, look, guys, I don't make believe for you just because Whittaker showed these great takedowns and surprised Kelvin. That's one thing that Kelvin had against him that night. It was a total surprise. I know that because I couldn't believe it when it happened. And the first time Whittaker caught him down, I even thought that. Kelvin didn't get up, the bell rang, and I remember thinking, that won't happen again because Kelvin now knows it could happen. Kelvin is a much better wrestler than Whittaker. Just nowhere in his mind did he think Whittaker would try it. Then he did, and he got it. Did another round, 4 for 4. It was very impressive. But I bring that to you because taking Adesanya down is very hard to do. Brunson couldn't do it. Yoel Romero had 10 rounds to do it and got it done twice. I apologize. Yoel had 5. I thought they did a rematch, but he got him twice. This is the Olympic silver medalist, the world champion, the most decorated wrestler in the entire division, possibly the sport, and Yoel Romero barely get him down and couldn't keep him there when he did. Vettori, who already had experience with Adesanya, who already knew take him down and keep him there, couldn't take him down. So we know that Adesanya's takedown defense is impressive. But we also know that nowhere in Adesanya's mind did he have to worry about Whittaker trying to take him down, because nowhere in Whittaker's past had he ever taken anybody down. It's relevant. It's very relevant. It will change the way you fight. If you think, hey, we've got an unwritten agreement. One of the reasons that Colby versus Usman Part 1 was such a good fight is those guys, they had a contract and they both knew it. We're standing on our feet. You call it boxing, kickboxing, you call it Thai fighting, call it a street fight, but we're staying right here toe-to-toe. And they both agreed to it, and they both knew the deal for 25 straight minutes. I bring that to you because it is one thing that is different. When I see Robert Whittaker, I see one of the best 85-pounders to have ever done it. When I see Adesanya, I see one of the best to have ever done it. But Whittaker appears to greatly respect Izzy. Am I right on that appearance? Just because he appears to respect doesn't mean he does. But am I right? Do you guys see that too? The first time they fought, 57,000 people right in your backyard. Biggest live audience MMA has ever seen. That's a lot of pressure. Interim champion, undisputed champion, main event, pay-per-view. That's a lot of pressure. That pressure won't be there. It is not a home field advantage in fighting. It is in every sport except fighting. You don't want to fight at home. Not where everybody's counting on you, not where the media is all on you, not where the marquee's on you, not where everybody that you know in life thinks you're a badass and now you got to go prove it to them half naked in front of the world. It's not an advantage. Derek Lewis talked about that. Derek Lewis fought Surreal in Houston, and when the fight was over, it was too much on me. I think I can deal with that guy. But fighting at home and dealing with a championship match, that's fair. That's a real thing. And Whittaker won't have it. Which speaks to the fact that Whittaker is likely to bring his skills with him more than he did in their first contest. If Whittaker can bring that with a level of confidence and these new takedowns, you're going to have a different fight, guys. I am not telling you you're going to have a different result. That's between those boys. But you will have a different fight, and when you are confronted, and you might just be asking yourself this, but you will still have asked the question, or one of your friends will, who's better? What's changed? There's a clear answer to that, which is Robert Whittaker's wrestling and grappling, not just one. He can get you off your feet and he can keep you down once he gets you there. That is a tool that he was not equipped with. Is it enough? Is it enough to level, right? It wasn't a tit-for-tat fight. There was a big gap. Is it enough to close the gap? Is it enough to surpass? That's what this is about. That's what this is truly about. Now, Adesanya's coach, Eugene Berryman, more outspoken possibly than any coach that I've ever seen in MMA. But he came out and said, I don't want Izzy to knock out Robert Whittaker. I want it to be a whitewash. And I didn't know what that meant. What's a whitewash? I had to go Google it. I had to look it up. I finally had to call my buddy Ryan, who used to live in Australia, and say, what does this mean? Well, whitewash means you control somebody the entire time. It's not tit for tat. It's not a check in this column and 2 checks in this column. You tell it it's a whitewash. No marks in the other guy's column. You absolutely destroy him. Eugene Berryman said he wanted this. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with gamesmanship from a coach. I have no problem if he wants to tell us the strategy. But then Coach Berryman finished why. He said, I want this so that there's absolutely no doubt. That part confused me. There was no doubt after the first time. Again, not only did Adesanya take his belt away, not only did Adesanya catapult himself to one of the biggest stars in the sport and one of the greatest 85-pounders ever. He didn't do all those. He beat him twice in one night. There was no question now. And I've heard Adesanya refer to Bobby Knuckles as his nemesis, as his greatest opponent. I've heard him say that. I didn't see that. I don't know where that's coming from. I'm a little bit surprised by it, not to mention Whittaker definitely would qualify as polite. He's been so polite to Adesanya and company that I'm wondering, does he know what he's getting into? Whittaker by nature is a very nice man. Is that what this is? Is this just polite, or does Whittaker not want to be here? So at one point, Whittaker told us that. Dana said, I'm going to make the fight. Whittaker said, and I quote, I'm not stoked about it. Now, stoked might go in the same category as whitewash, where I just don't know what the vernacular means. And that was over a year ago. A lot has changed. It's a very interesting fight. I know what Adesanya's why is. His why is to get rid of what he views as his greatest nemesis and to leave absolutely no doubt. What is Whittaker's why? Is it to show the new skills that he has? Is it to even the score one apiece? If so, are we going to have to see part 3 down the road? There's still a few days before the fight. I'm excited for it. I do want to know why it matters to Robert Whittaker.